Well, good evening, Sarnia community. I want to welcome you to our video tour of the Celebration Lights. My name is Dean Holtz. I'm the chairman of the board of directors, and joining me is my good buddy John Charest, who's the vice chairman of the board of directors. And we're going to walk you through all the displays, mention the sponsors, and give you a little backstory and history of the Celebration Lights and the displays that we have. So without further ado, we're actually going to swing around and just look on the opposite direction. We've got on the posts here with the parking lot, the shooting stars. And when did we get those ones, John?
We received those, I think 3-4 years ago. Those were donated from the village of Point Edward. They weren't using them anymore, so they're kind enough to give them to us. So I figured putting them on the poles down here at the north end was perfect.
Yeah. So that's really the most northern part of our display is the parking lot, and we're going to proceed this way. So we have this guy right here, the Santa in a Sleigh. This year it's sponsored by Sheena Lazenby, who's a realtor with Remax, and it's a nice fun little display. The kids like it with Santa's in a display. As you can see, there's a few lights that are not lighting up on this one, and we're going to take a look at that. Every year we deal with displays don't always, they work initially and then sometimes they don't, and then we always take a look at it, but we appreciate good sponsors like Sheena. Let's go over this way. This one's real simple. It's a Canadian flag, and this was actually provided by Mitch Mustanek, who owns a business called Electric Cut, and he's been really involved. Him and his dad Steve, actually big time volunteers that come out for community setup and tear down. We actually just called Mitch because this was working earlier today. This is an RGB display, which means there's a controller behind there, and the lights can have different colors and patterns, although Mitch sticks with the red and the white for obvious reasons. So he's going to take a look at that. We'll get that working again right away, hopefully tomorrow. But we appreciate good sponsors like Mitch, and of course we love to start with a Canadian flag. Now over here, we've got a beautiful display, a couple swans. We've had this display a while, I think. John, how long have we had it?
We've had this for about 15 years.
15 years, yeah. And very graceful creatures. And the thing that John does, he's our director of displays, and he changes the placement of the displays. Certain displays we keep where they are for obvious reasons, but the swans were a little further over last year, but he put them here. Really nice placement. And this is sponsored by Courtney Levert, Platinum Properties, and she's been a sponsor of ours for a number of years. Really appreciate her. Now coming over this way, we've got a fun one that's kind of animated. We call it the Marching Soldiers. This display is sponsored by Gracework Construction, and there's controllers that light up the different soldiers at different times, so it looks like they're marching along. Now, who did we get these from, John?
This was part of the big display order we got in 2000, which it consisted of a lot of the big displays you see in the park today. And it's like marching soldiers basically means marching with hand down, hand up, hand down, hand up.
Yep, that's a fun one. The kids like that one a lot too. All right. Now on this side, we've got probably our display that takes up the greatest area of ground, which is our reindeer display. All along the hill, you can see it's a pretty large area, and they're all lit up with the LED rope lighting. And this one's sponsored by Joel Boisvert. He's with BMO Investments, and he came on board with us a couple years ago, and he's really excited to help out. Yeah, we call it herd of reindeer. It's not just the 9 reindeer you think of with Santa's sleigh, because there's they have to have backup in case they need other. So I don't know how many reindeer do we have on here, John?
I think there's 19 in total. 19
in total. So there's lots of reindeer here for this display. It's a beautiful display that spans across the hill, and it's really nice, very classic looking with a nice white light outline. All right. Now here's one that we haven't had in a while, but actually before I get that, let me just stop here. John had the idea, he wanted to just really highlight some of our sponsors that just kind of generally help out, and we see their names on the sign. CNC Coatings, they help us by doing the powder coating for the display parts, the metal parts. They're great for that. Of course, the Village of Point Edward have been huge supporters of this. P. McGibbon Grizzlies, who have created the murals that we have years ago. Babcock Welding and Fabricating, they've made carts for us. Loyal Order of Moose, local organization, they sponsor us. Sterling Crane, they provide their crane for our large displays to be lifted and to be lowered when we're tearing down. Sarnia Services, who have C-cans, 6 of them that we store everything in, they do that for us. And of course, the city of Sarnia, who's hugely helpful. They actually waive all our fees for us. For the next 4 years, they've agreed to do that, which is extremely generous. We really appreciate that. So we wanted to give a shout out to some of these sponsors that don't have a display, but they're so important. So this is one we haven't had out for a few years. Hey, John, what's this one?
This is an old display. This was part of a display that was purchased and sponsored by the Lung Association. We've had this even before we even got the new displays. We've had it, we kept it in storage, and I thought maybe since we're sponsoring all the displays, include this one. This is supposed to be a Christmas mailbox.
Yep.
Basically means it's like a mailbox. Kids put their letters in for Christmas, for Santa Claus.
Yeah. And this one is sponsored this year by Marcotte and Transco. They're new sponsors that came on board this year. Really appreciate them, Jacqueline and team, and very thankful for their support. Now we're going to go over this way. We're going to go to easily our most iconic display, and I would say our tallest display, I think. Yep. This is what we call the Candle Arch, and this display, as far as we know, is the largest of its kind by this manufacturer in the world. So there's smaller versions of this Candle Arch that go over walkways, but this is the only one that we've been informed by that manufacturer goes over an entire roadway, and this kind of signifies, you know, the entryway into the celebration of lights. Of course, it's got our name on it. And what we did this year a little different is because we sponsored all the displays, and that's one of the main ways that we fund everything we do, is we put the sponsorship up for auction, and we had several groups and businesses, and this year the auction was won by none other than Blue Water Power. So they won the auction for that. So they are the sponsor for this display, which we so appreciate. Not just their sponsorship, but they're super helpful with so many other things. They have guys out here helping to do set up and tear down, and it takes a whole community to make this happen. So, but that's definitely our most iconic display. So coming back this way, a display that we haven't had in the park for a couple of years because there's a little more to it. There's more technology, is what we call our DJ dance floor. The kids love this one. And you can see it's set up. There's a kid enjoying it. Just the moving lights, right? We do have music for it, except unfortunately, last night the speakers were removed by somebody, we don't know who. So we're gonna get new speakers for it. So it would normally have music so the kids can dance the music. And then there's a projector behind it, which again, we did have operational, but it's, we have to get it looked at. So, you know, with technology, these things happen. Sometimes they start working and then they stop again. But we are on it, and we are getting people that are going to get it figured out for us. But yeah, the DJ Dance Floor, this is sponsored by Plains Midstream Canada this year. They were actually a great sponsor of ours a couple years ago, and then we kind of lost touch with them, and I connected with them again. They said, yeah, we want to partner again, and they were excited to do this. So we're really happy to have this up and running for them again. And then across the pathway, what's this one, John?
The skating family. It consists of many different skaters, man and a woman putting the skates on, lamppost, man, boy falling on the ice, skating couple, lady pulling the baby, and then boy pulling the dog on the sleigh.
Yeah, and we actually added a few pieces just a couple years ago, didn't we, John?
Yes, we did. We had the boy and the dog, and the man and the lady.
Yep, yep. And this one's sponsored as a new sponsor this year, Bridgeview Marine Services. Actually, this year we have about 30 new sponsors over last year, which is amazing. Just the support that we've received from the community, which we really appreciate. So each year there's different sponsors. Some people say we'll sponsor this year, but we can't next year, and we totally understand that. We just appreciate whatever we can get. But yeah, 30 new sponsors, amazing. So now going beside that display right over here, this one was actually donated to us last year by Sure Signs, which was very generous of them. This is very recognizable, especially for people my age. These classic movies that have endured the test of time. Of course, we got Frosty, and then we've got Rudolph. That's actually my wife's favorite Christmas movie, and they made these up, and they donated them to us. So this is another new sponsor, Sarnia Pharmacy. Really appreciate them. And again, this is a favorite, not just the kids, but the kids at heart, especially our age who remember these movies from when we were little kids. This is great. So right across, we've got School of Fish. So we've got a whole theme that we're about to come into, a water theme. And John, you like to kind of group those displays together, don't you?
Yeah, we do. In the beginning, when we had them, it was called Port Sarnia in the year 2000, which consisted of School of Fish, Mermaid, Lighthouse, Neptune's Castle, the post anchors. But the last few years, we haven't had this one out for a while, because of the support stands needed some work.
Yep.
As you can see now, once again, it's out, and had some issues with this one to try to get it running. I didn't want to disappoint the sponsor for this one. So basically today and yesterday, I spent some time getting this thing lit up.
Yeah. Well, good job, John. We appreciate that. The sponsor really appreciates that. Another new sponsor, Ardobin Engineering, wanted to sponsor this one, and we really appreciate them coming on board. It's a nice, colorful display, and it's similar to that color scheme we have right beside it. Our second tallest display, Neptune's Castle, which we just brought back last year, right, John? That one was restored.
Yep, this one was all stripped clean, sandblasted by ProMart, powder coated by Blue Water Industrial Coatings, and then several of us, myself included, spent a lot of time and many rolls of white tape putting all the socket wire back on every one of those frames.
Yep.
So as you can see, once again, we changed the color scheme so it makes it look different to our guests that come to the park. They're thinking it's a whole different display.
Yeah, yeah, and you know, these displays, they take a lot of work to fully restore, because the framework that the lights are on have to be all touched up, repainted. Those frames are white, and that's intentional because the white's going to reflect more of the light, so it's going to be even brighter. But the frame that frame is connected to is black, so that kind of fades in the background. But yeah, got to run all new socket wire, all new bulbs, so it's actually a huge undertaking, a lot of time, especially a display of this size, but it's beautiful. People love this. This is another new sponsor, Initiate Realty, which is a new realty firm here in Sarnia by Corey LeBlanc and Clara Bruno, and really appreciate them. When I approached them, they were super excited and wanted to jump on board and be a part of the community in this way. So really appreciate good people like that, and they wanted to sponsor a fun display that kids love. So we're going to continue with another display the kids love, which is the mermaid display over here. Also very colorful with a little bit of animation. The mermaid's found, she's by her chest of treasure, and the sparkling colorful lights are to represent those jewels that are there. And this is another beautiful display, and you can see that the color scheme that John has gone with for this, very similar to the last two. So it just blends in very nicely. And yeah, the sponsor for this, another new sponsor, it said 30, right? We have 47 displays, so 30 of them, almost 30 were new. So a lot of new sponsors. Kurt Adjian, who's Exit Realty, realtor with Exit Realty, Community Realty. So really appreciate that. And yeah, this is a fun display that the kids really like too. All right.
Yeah.
How about we go over this way, because we've
Okay.
got the lighthouse over here, which is still following in with the water theme. And the thing about that is it makes sense. We're on the water. We're a water community. We have the river, of course, which is where this is located, not far as the lake. So it makes sense that we have displays that really bring about that element of our community. This one's actually nice and tall. This is a great display, and that's our lighthouse. Makes me think, my wife and I just took our first trip down east, and we went and saw a few iconic lighthouses like Peggy's Cove, and they're amazing structures, and this image represents that. Now, when did we get this one, John?
This was another display we got in year 2000 with the same of Mermaid Neptune's Castle. So this was another one that was way put away. It was still in storage for a few years while we waited to get the steel stands redone.
Yeah, very good, very good. All right.
And then to complement with the theme area here, right behind me is 4 pole mount anchors, which adds in with the water theme.
Yes, yes.
As you can, that's why you can see it's all water-related stuff around us, and we still got more water-related displays ahead.
Yep. So on that note, right beside it, we have buoy marker. But before I go that, I do want to mention the sponsor for Lighthouse is sponsored for Ian and Tanya Mitchell. We actually had a number of personal sponsors this year. A lot of people sponsoring maybe in memory of someone, or sometimes it's hard to buy for your parents a little older because they have everything they need and want. I know we have that problem with our parents, and sometimes you think, well, what can we do for Christmas? And this is a great idea, is to sponsor something like one of our displays. So we appreciate the Mitchells for doing that. So beside Lighthouse, we have Buoy Marker. That one is a sponsor that's been with us for a few years. LJ Custom Fence and Deck, and that one's fun. We see the animation, so it looks like the buoys bobbing in the waves of the water. And again, that's continuing with the water theme, which pretty much is almost done. There's one more water theme display, but before we get to that, I'm just gonna jump a little bit so we kind of fall in line here. So we have these red trees, and again, we can see where some of them aren't lit. And we try to keep on top of this. Stuff will work one day and not the next, so we'll get looking at it. But there's 6 trees here, all beautifully red. Here's another personal one. So this was in memory of Nancy Hilbert. I think the daughter's name, if I remember correctly, is Victoria, who wanted to do this. And so this is a beautiful display. This one used to be sponsored by MAD, and so we do still have the sign out front there from MAD, just reminding people at this time of year just to be careful, be sensible, and be responsible. There's no point in having any needless harm to anybody because people are being unwise. So let's backtrack now. We're going to go this way, and we've got our last water themed display, I believe, John, which is the sailboat, right?
Yep, the sailboat. Now, kind of sailboat ties in with buoy marker. Sailboat and going right past the buoy.
Now, the sponsor of this display, WMA Promotions, Wayne Archer is a friend of ours, actually used to serve on the board. Great guy, loves the community, great businessman. Just very generous, and he's been sponsoring this for a number of years. We really appreciate that. Beautiful, nice and bright display. I mean, we have a strong boating community. Of course, we have the Sarnia Yacht Club, and so this just fits perfect with who we are as a community and what we're about. Yeah, like that display. Speaking of WMA Promotions as well, one of the things that Wayne has helped us out with is some of our merchandise, and one of those, which is the toque that John's wearing. Beautiful toque there with our logo stitched in it. We sell those for just $5 at the opening ceremonies. Outside the opening ceremonies, we ask $10, which is still, we think, actually pretty cheap, because a lot of organizations will want 15 to 20 bucks for a toque. But we're not interested in really making a whole lot of money off these. We just want people to be able to have them and kind of share the name and get the brand recognition out there. But they're nice little toques. So we also, for the band that played at the opening ceremonies, we had these hoodies made up for them as a thank you, and we might look at adding that to the merchandise as well. And those were provided by WA Promotions. They helped us out with that. So let's go over to this one. This is a postcard, isn't it, John?
Yep, postcard.
Yeah, tell us about this one.
This one is another display we got in year 2000. It's probably the third or maybe the fourth largest of the entire group of displays we got. As you can see, this one here is basically saying season's greetings to all, with a church house in a snowy background. And earlier today I changed the stars up there to represent a twinkling star over the town.
Mm-hmm. Yep, very nice. Very nice. Yeah, nice classic Christmas scene. We see the Hallmark cards. That's kind of the idea with this, and so that's been a display that we've enjoyed having in our lineup for a number of years.
This was another one that was we haven't had for a few years in the park. So thanks to Paul for refurbishing the poles for us to get it so we can get this one back.
And by Paul, he's referring to Paul Babcock Jr. of Babcock Welding, Marine and Shoreline Services. Paul actually serves on our board, and he just gives so much. He's a very generous person with his time, and yeah, he very last minute made up new feet. These feet right here, these are brand new that Paul made up because they somehow went missing. When we dropped these off with our Displays of the Park event, they were here, but then they went missing. We actually had a part from another display that we found in the river. It was able to get retrieved. So unfortunately, there's a few people in the community that have ill intent, but we deal with it and we just move forward. So let's go this way. Now we can kind of see here in this area there, you know, we don't want to have too many places where there's not something lit up, and you know, just even some of the bushes and the trees, you know, we string some lights up. We have volunteers that spend some good time doing that just to light things up and make it look more beautiful. So now we're going to head down the pathway this way. So this display coming up here is one of our most iconic displays now. It's pretty bright, pretty flashy. This one is actually owned by H.C. Stark, so they own the display. They store the display, they maintain it, they set it up, they tear it down, so we appreciate that. We have a few relationships like that. There's another display we'll mention later, but this is what we simply call Light Tunnel. And so H.C. Stark is obviously the sponsor because they own it, they take care of it, and it's got music that the lights flash with. It's a lot of fun. We've had people get engaged in this tunnel, so it's a pretty popular spot. Yep. Now over here, before we get too far past them, we have these two gift boxes. When did we get those ones, John?
We've had those for a few years. They were in the containers, never used, so we pull them out, and so we put them in sporadic areas to kind of give the darkened area a place to light up.
Yep, yep. So we didn't have a specific sponsor for that one, but again, John wants to make sure that the park is well lit, that there's nice lights kind of everywhere for everyone to enjoy. So let's go through the tunnel. Come this far, you got to go through it because that's kind of trippy. It's a lot of fun.
Oof. Oh, trip.
All right. So this display got restored this year, which means all that framing, freshly painted, beautiful white, new socket wire, new lights. It's like a new display and it looks gorgeous, very classic. And this one, Royal Horse and Carriage, another new sponsor. This is Express Employment Professionals. Really excited to get on board with us this year, and we're happy to have them. We really appreciate that. Yep. Again, we have more trees that have strings of lights in them. Just like to have these areas lit up as well.
When we get over the other side of Shipwreck, I'll check.
Yeah, so John's just saying this one here, the Carousel of Horses, which was sponsored by Sarnia Lakeshore Optimist Club. They came on board this year, which we really appreciate. It's possible the breaker flips. So something that's new this year, and we'll point it out, but you may have noticed in our travels so far, these little white posts where there's outlets, and the city had to put in new ones this year, and they all have the GFIs, which means they have the little breaker with the outlet. It's the same thing as your plug in your bathroom has to have that, because if there's any moisture for safety reasons, and that's a new protocol that has to be in place. The problem is here in Sarnia at this time of year it can be mild. I mean, here I am, December, I don't even have a jacket on because it was a high of 7 degrees today. Tomorrow's supposed to be a high of 10. That means we can also get rain, and when it rains, sometimes these outlets trip now, and so we have to come and turn them on. The city has agreed, bless their hearts, to have workers out to check on that to reset them so that the displays can be mostly lit, but sometimes we have to do it as well. So we'll get that up and running again, but big shout out to Sarnia Lakeshore Optimist Club for coming on board as a new sponsor. We'll get that up and running for you right away. Now here's another classic one that's in the theme of the one that we just looked at that got restored. It's a smaller version, but still beautiful. It's the Horse and Carriage. Again, a new sponsor, Lori Summers, a commercial broker with Remax Metropolis Realty Brokerage. And she was super excited to join with our sponsorship family this year. And this is just such a classy and classic display. How long have we had this one, John?
We had this one for 5 years. This one came from a donation from the Point Edward Charity Casino.
Yep.
That was the same one with the Royal Horse and Carriage up there too.
Yep. Yep. They donated a few to us, which we really appreciate because it really adds to what we're doing here, what we're doing. All right. So we're almost to the south end of the park, and there's some pretty cool displays, but when it comes to cool factor, I don't know if there's one that's cooler than Santa on a motorcycle, having some fun with the wind blowing in his toque and his beard. This one is sponsored by Mark Reynolds and Paul Babcock, a couple buddies that love to ride their motorcycles, and so they were stoked to sponsor this display. They did that last year as well, and nice and color display that the kids love too. And then our volunteers decided, hey, we're gonna frame this display by hanging these lights over this display, which is really beautiful. I like that idea. Yeah. So we do have one more display that features horses and carriages, and that's this one here, which we call the Two Horse and Coach. And this one's sponsored by Remax Sarnia Realty. Remax has been a longtime sponsor and supporter. They actually put up a tent at the opening ceremonies, and they have agents that come and just volunteer and help out, and they're a huge help. We really appreciate April Bernard and her team, and their just giving spirit with us, but in the community. They give a lot in this community, so we so appreciate them. Again, another classy, beautiful display. Now, before we go around the corner, let's just go a little further down. Well, I guess, John, actually, I stand corrected. This would be our tallest display, which is the firefighter's tree. Now, it's called the firefighter's tree for a simple reason, and that's because the firefighters put it up. They take care of it and put it up, and then, of course, this is outfitted with the RGB lights so that it can flash and motion, and there's music. A lot of people like, as you see right now, they like to stand under there and dance and have fun with it, whether it's kids, couples, whatever. And you get a lot of pictures. People like to get down below and then take a picture pointing up. Makes for a really cool photo. So this is a really popular display. What I love about this display is you can see it coming a far way down London Road, coming towards the waterfront. So it's a great way to show the kind of the beginning, the south end beginning of our displays. But the real most southerly display is this big guy over here. Season's Greetings, which got restored. Was that last year or the year before, John?
It was never restored.
Oh.
The back frame piping got restored.
Okay, so part of it got restored.
But this is another display graciously donated by the Point Edward Charity Casino, along with the Horse and Carriage and Royal Horse and Carriage, which you need a very big area to set this display up. So this is the best place to have it down here.
Yeah, and I think, if I remember correctly, John, last year was the first year you put it in this location, right?
Yeah, because the other previous places, when we raised it, the tree branches were getting in the way.
Yeah.
And this one is a deluxe model. There is another version of this display by the Carpenter Decorating Company that made it.
Yeah.
But we actually have the deluxe version of this one.
Yeah, this is a very wide display and a lot of lights, so very bright, as you can see, beautiful. Another new sponsor, which is our 3 radio stations, well 4 really. You have Country CHOK, the Fox, Cool 106.3 and Sarnia News Today. They joined together to sponsor this display. The radio station here is very good to us, helps us with getting our messaging out. We do make use of radio ads for our setup days, for the opening ceremonies, our teardown, and they're just wonderful people to help us out. So we really appreciate them. George Hayes and Stephanie and Sarah and all the good people there. So appreciate them. So let's backtrack now, because that's the most southerly display. We can't really go any further because there's a parking lot that way. But we're going to backtrack now. Now we're going to kind of swing around the riverfront and take a look at the displays that are closer to that side. So we'll just go over here, and this one in the corner here, actually that's all one display. We got 5 items. There's a Christmas tree, a couple of presents, a bear, and a gingerbread man.
Yeah.
Now this one I'm pretty sure we've had this a few years, right, John?
Oh yeah, we have these for quite a few years.
See, I have to ask John because I don't remember. John has been with this organization since the beginning, 1984. So we're in our 39th year. That means next year, the big 4-0, big year. We have big plans to do bigger, better. But John has been with this organization from the beginning. So nobody knows the history better than John. That's why we always have to have him out for this, because I don't remember everything, but John does. So gingerbread man, bear, and gift. This is sponsored by a family that has ties to Sarnia, although they're in Toronto, and they sponsor this for the last many years, and we really appreciate that. Now, swinging around this way, and that sponsor there is the Holtz family, Giselle Holtz specifically, who sponsored the gingerbread man and boy and the presents. But we've got this gift box bear. This is a fairly tall display as well. As you can see, we've got animation on it. Makes it a lot of fun. Now, did we have this one up last year, John?
No, this one was kept away for a few years because of, as you can tell, the back support stand had to be redone. But this one is a multi-level animation display. Consists of a gift box, the bear coming out and peeking over, and springing out of the box saying "Happy Holidays."
Yeah, that's a fun one. Yeah, this one was sponsored again by a new sponsor, Ben Goetz from Remax, who came on board with us this year, and really appreciate Ben. He was excited to do that, and so we're happy to have his help in seeing this lit up so nicely. What a beautiful display. Now behind us here, we've got the tobogganers, which again, we see a theme. Similar to the carousel presents, this one's not lighting up right now. Well, we got a couple lights on, so we're gonna have to see what the issue with this one is.
It's a RGB modular.
Yeah, so what John's referring to there is on the ground, gray box, and the RGB lights, they're computer controlled. That's how they can we can designate different colors, really any color imaginable, and you can have animations and movement. But it is a more complex system. There's more that can go wrong with it, but we do have people that know about this, that installed it. So we're gonna get this looked at right away. Another new sponsor, Smith Funeral Home. Really appreciate Scott and his business and his family in taking on the sponsorship. Scott, we will get this sorted out right away for you so it's lit up. Now, look at this. Now we'll circle around again. John's got the carousel. So was it just the outlet?
The breaker trip.
See, this is what we're talking about. So just that GFI breaker switch. So see how beautiful that carousel is with the presents? Kids love this. They like to go in and out. And because we know they like to do that, we got special extension cords so there's not too much in the center for people to trip on because kids like to run in and through these.
Yep.
So, I mean, we said we were done with the water themed, but not entirely, because there is one more that's technically water themed, and this guy here, which is Shipwreck. Now that one was that one acquired with the other water themes, or is that one different, John?
That was part of the water themed area ones, but I kind of wanted to break it up and get it down here, you know.
Yep. This one's nice and bright too, isn't it?
Oh yeah, a lot of red, a lot of yellow.
Yeah. Sponsored by Wolverine Contracting and Engineering, which have been a sponsor with us for a few years. Really appreciate those people. And again, this is a fun display. It's a little different, a little more unique, but totally fits with the Sarnia community. In fact, I didn't realize this till I happened to learn it. I wasn't looking for this, but John's actually a diver, so he's seen shipwrecks, and there's wrecks down here in the river and in the lake, of course, and there's one actually just by Cannon Terre Beach. But found out the Great Lakes, actually there's something like 10,000 wrecks at the bottom of the Great Lakes, so it's actually kind of a diver's dream, and we're part of that. So this makes sense for us.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay, let's move along. We're thankful that tonight, actually, there's virtually no wind, which is rare for Sarnia. I remember years ago when my grandmother and my dad's mother was visiting. They live up in Pembroke, and I said, hey, how do you like Sarnia? She says, well, I like it, but it's always windy here, because where they're from, in Pembroke, Ontario, I guess they don't get near as much wind. Maybe we're kind of like Chicago that way, but today it's pretty still. So we have just a couple trees here again. We've put some lights on, so you know we really want to get as much light in this park. There's not much left that we could put out, eh, John, for next year?
Well, for next year, if we think about getting projectors and maybe spotlights and light them up in the big trees here,
yeah,
that'll help. You know?
Yeah. But in terms of what we have left in the sea cans, we got pretty much everything out. Only a couple things need a little bit of work.
Well, we have some more candles, and we're going to see about getting them out and using them next year.
This one, Man and Boy, sponsored by Sean and Tara Antle from Corunna. They're owners of Cooperators Insurance there, and they've been great with us and great supporters. Not only this, but they're wonderful community people. They support so much and just really good people. Anyways, they've liked to sponsor this one for a while, and what a classic scene, you know. Dad cutting down a fresh Christmas tree and son helping out with that, and a lot of people, that's their tradition. They like to get that, whether they go to Sloan's or wherever, and get that fresh tree and put it up, and that's just kind of part of the Christmas tradition for so many people. So right beside that, we have a fun one here. This is the snowman display. So we have three different snowmen. We have the classic Frosty, we have Olaf, and then we have Mrs. Frosty. And these ones are outfitted with the RGB lights as well. So they're different colors and movement and animation. And this one is sponsored by Grandma Taylor, Tess, and Wesley. Grandma Taylor referring to Paula Taylor. Paula actually served on our board for a number of years, was a huge help, and she still is. her and these other ladies, they come out and help John. They do so much work beyond the community setup day. This year we had 152 volunteers, the most that I'm aware of we've ever had. But after that day, there's still a lot of work to be done, a lot of little things. And people like Paula, they come and give of their time to do that. So this all happening and being completed is partly in due to the extra, the over and above that people like Paula and Leslie and Kathy do and give of their time. So we're so appreciative of that. All right, so here we've got a fun one. Yeah, penguins, fishing penguins. Now this one's sponsored by Sarnia Tirecraft. They've been a sponsor for a number of years. Brad, the manager there, just so stoked to be a part of this. We appreciate him and his goodwill spirit in that regard. We'll check that left side penguin and try to get him lit up as well. Again, with these displays, it's similar with the displays and lights you put up your own home, right? You put them up, they all work, and then a day or a week later, some of them don't work. We deal with the same problems. What we try to do is we try to set everything up 2 weeks before opening ceremonies when we turn it on, so we have time to test everything. But this year, 2 weeks before the opening ceremonies, which is always the last Saturday in November, was Remembrance Day, and we weren't going to do a community setup day on Remembrance Day. So we decided we'll do it 1 week before, but that meant we had a little less time. So that meant we might have to do some troubleshooting after the fact, which is what's happened. But as you can see, most everything is lit. This one, this is like the H.C. Stark Light Tunnel in that this company, Intertech, the sponsor, they own this display, they set it up, they take care of it, they store it. This one's so much fun. It's the animated penguins that are sliding off the top of the igloo and dumping themselves into a pile of snow. So we appreciate Randy and the good people at Intertech for taking care of that. That is a beautiful, bright display. Again, the kids like that one a lot. Now coming over here, we mentioned a little while ago about P. McGibbon, about the murals they made. These are those murals. So we have 5 murals here that they painted, had fun with years ago, and they got the cutouts so kids like to come and put their faces through. Maybe not just kids, maybe those who are kids at heart as well. And but this one is sponsored by another new sponsor, which is Main Street Credit Union. They wanted to jump on board, and they came on board actually kind of last minute with us, but that's okay, better late than never. And they sponsored this display again. This one is a favorite with the kids. Now, one of our more unique displays is this one. This is Snoopy and the Red Baron. Throwback for those of us who've been around for a few years. This is a classic Christmas show or Christmas movie, from the Charlie Brown series, animated series, and so this one's really fun. Now, was it Alexander Mackenzie kids that built this plane, or yeah?
They built it and they had it hanging in their shop, and then they decided, well, why keep it up there in the morning? They gave it to us.
Yep.
For a while, it was sitting on the ground until Paul Babcock of Babcock Welding donated these black stones. They made this stand to get it off the ground as it pretends it's flying through the air. Yeah, yep. That the Red Baron is chasing Snoopy. That's the idea. So this one's sponsored by, we have the tree over here, which is Blackwater Cafe. Dave and Alyssa Dugay of Blackwater Cafe have been longtime supporters of the Celebration Lights, not only because they sponsor display, but because they actually provide hot drinks at the opening ceremonies, and they partner with Imperial Oil, and between the two of them, they make those hot drinks free to everyone who attends. We had over 4,000 in attendance this year at the opening ceremonies, and they gave out a ton of hot drinks, especially hot chocolate, which was very popular, as you can imagine. So we really appreciate Dave and Alyssa and Blackwater Coffee Company, and they have a fun display for sure. Now here's a display that hasn't been out for a few years, right, John? Yeah, this is part of the house collection, which we hope next year the other houses will be back. And this is a Noel's gift house.
Yeah. This is a cute little house. The kids like to go inside. There's little seats for them. And this one is, again, another new sponsor. It's Heartwood Home Designs. And a couple young ladies started up a new business, and they're doing well. And I ran into them at the trade show with the Sarnia Lambton Chamber of Commerce there in November at DeGroots, and they're like, yeah, we'd love to sponsor this. And so the other houses that John was talking about, Shell is going to actually rebuild them, and then we're going to have some local schools paint them. So we're going to get those houses up and running again, because that was something that people were requesting of us. When are the houses going to be back? Because the kids love the houses. But we do have this one. And you know, this one's special because of Noel's gift. Most people now are familiar with the tragedy that happened many years ago with Noel. And so in response to that, the community has really rallied together in support. They have a wonderful event that happens actually the same afternoon as our opening ceremonies to raise funds for the community and to raise awareness. And so we kind of extend that by having this display in honor of her and that organization. So we appreciate Heartwood Home Designs for making sure that happens. Now here's another one. This one's unique and hasn't been up for a few years. What's this one called, John?
This is called Man in the Moon. Basically, kind of wanted to have this one for this area because you can imagine Mermaid, the Neptune's castle on water. And on water, there's always a moon out in the distance somewhere. So there's Man in the Moon sitting up in the tree.
Yeah, that's a fun one. Now that one's sponsored by Hughes Intelligence. By their name, you may not know what kind of business it is. They're actually a security company, but they're not just any security company. They're local, and they actually are a huge help to us. Here's how they help. They provide 24/7 security for our displays the entire time they're up. That's from the start of us bringing them here and for setup and to the point where we pack them down, which is a total of about 8 weeks. 24/7 security, which is amazing. That's so generous. Just to give you an idea, we have about 120 sponsors in total from the community when we factor in businesses, organizations, families, individuals. Some sponsors displays, some give money to help out towards the opening ceremony. Some just give funds in general, but some are what we call gift in kind, where they either provide a service or a product instead of us having to pay for it, which is hugely helpful, or at the very least give us a very generous discount. And we appreciate everybody that does this, and Hughes is one example. They're a huge example. They actually provide all this, but not just the 24/7 while the displays are up. The opening ceremonies, they had 15 security guards here making sure that this was a fun and safe event for everyone who came. Hughes, you're awesome. All right, let's go this way. And we're gonna go over here, and on this post, we see a very special display. Tell us about this one, John.
This is the Post Angels. As you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 going around this entire circular walkway. This is one of our displays we've had since 2000, and this one is kind of special to me because I approached Dean about this one. As you can see, I sponsored it in memory of my mother, Minka Charest, as well as my aunts, Olga Malat, Liz Labani, Hermina Aqua, and Mary DeBug. They're all family to me. My mother and father, they're the ones who talked me into getting into the volunteering for Celebration Lights in '84. So if my mom didn't know about any of this, I wouldn't be here today.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to, I've always honored my mom through papers and everything, but with my involvement in Celebration Lights, I figured the Post Angels were perfect.
Yeah. This is perfect for John, and again, as we've mentioned, we have a few displays like this one for John and his family that are meant as a memoir, and very special, heartwarming, and it's a great way to not obviously give to us, but to to remember a loved one in this way. And so what John's idea was, and again, he changes things up every year, not everything, but he makes changes so it's fresh. And I love this idea. So this area that we're going to go through here, this is basically our kind of Christian religious area, and we're going to go through those displays. But we have these 4 post angels kind of surrounding that, and it just makes sense with the theme of what we have going on here. So without further ado then, let's go into this section. And, you know, we understand that this time of year is celebrated by all kinds of people, all kinds of ethnic groups, different cultures, different belief systems, and we honor that, we respect that. But certainly the heritage here in Canada, as a country that was founded on the Christian faith, and we recognize not everybody participates in that, and we respect that, but that is our heritage, and so that is part of our display setup. So starting with this Peace on Earth, which is something I think everybody certainly agrees with, and especially in light of recent events, we wish for this and we want for this, and for those of us of faith, we pray for that. This one's sponsored by InFocus Eye Care. They've been with us for a number of years, and they've been a great sponsor as well. You know, all our sponsors that have been with us for a number of years, like when we come back and ask them, like they're excited. They're not like, oh yeah, I guess. You know, they're really happy to do this. And we just really appreciate that because we love doing this and being a blessing to the community this way. We'll swing around this way actually, and this is one that we got back in the park. We didn't have these up last year, right, John?
Yeah, this was all part of a themed area called Candle Point, and we figured, well, more displays in the park will fill up the park better. So. Yep. These were originally fitted with LED lights, the socket wire. Mm-hmm. They were stripped and then put RGBs, and as you can see, they work, so they're going to stay RGB.
Yep.
So.
Yep. So they're very colorful, nice animation and movement. We've got the 4 candles. Again, another new sponsor. Here we go, Young Drivers, the local outfit for that, and they came on board. You know, close to opening ceremonies, but again, better late than never, and we really appreciate that. Basically, we just put on our Facebook page, hey, we have this display that needs a sponsor, and we just were flooded with interest. And so we got all the displays that we could put out this year, which is virtually all of them sponsored, which was great. So now let's go to this one here. This one's fun for the kids. It's Noah's Ark, a little bit of animation here. This is another company that has been with us for a number of years, Melon Incorporated, and they sponsor this display. Nice fun one. You got the animation with the giraffe head movement and the tail at the back end. Or I guess that's not a tail. Now that I look at that, that's actually a trunk of an elephant. That makes more sense. So the idea, John, with this area was that people could kind of stand in the center and look around, right?
Yep.
Yep.
Basically, you kind of have an area that's got representing water over there.
Yeah.
And you got an area that's got like other like horses and carriages over there.
Yep.
I figured this would be a nice area for a religious Christianity theme area with
yep.
manger, angels, peace on earth, Noah's Ark, candles, angels on the pole, everything.
Yep. Well, certainly we can't have an area that's supposed to be devoted to the Christian faith and theme without the nativity scene. This one's sponsored by Dean Holtz Photography, yours truly, and this one is outfitted with the RGB, and so it's different colors. Now, baby Jesus right now is not illuminated. We'll get that figured out soon enough.
I just need a 3-pronged cord from Bill
to
get it.
Yeah. So sometimes it's as simple as a little extension cord because those don't last forever either. And again, it was working before and now needs to be replaced. But it's nice. We got the angels on the side of it and then the nativity scene there with the star up high. It looks beautiful. Coming over here, then we have another Peace on Earth. So it's basically the same display. We have Peace on Earth 2. And this one, following in that same theme, this one is sponsored by Graceworks. Construction. Now you may or may not remember that I mentioned that company already because they were sponsoring or are sponsoring the Marching Soldiers. So they actually sponsored 2 displays, very generous of them. James, I really appreciate just his willingness to share with the community in this way and with such a beautiful display. And I love how when you look at these displays, you're seeing our beautiful waterway behind it. So again, another shout out to John for his creativity in setting these displays up. Well, I think we're almost at the end. We're going to just circle around this way. Now, John, where is the exit tree? Did we already pass by it? Is it that blue tree down there?
Yeah, that was the exit tree down, all that hot, heavy duty blue lighting.
Okay, so let's circle back. We want to showcase that one.
I don't think we have the sponsorship tree for that one.
Okay, so.
But we know that's their lights.
Yeah, so we're going to get the sign for that. Liggett Signs is very helpful to us. All these trees that have been shown in the video and are at the foot of each display, we want to make sure that anybody who looks at these can see who has sponsored their display. And so this one here, the color of the lights was picked purposefully to be as close as we could to the color of the Exit Realty symbol and their logo. And so we call that the exit tree. And really appreciate Julie Jenkins, who's the brokerage owner, local owner of that outfit here in the area. And so that one is sponsored by her. And we will get that sign up right quickly. It's just a matter of getting it from Liggett's. But that's the exit tree right here. Nice and colorful with that kind of blue, green, almost teal looking color. Yep. Very nice, very nice. So similarly to that, we have one more tree, which I think, if I'm not mistaken, John, probably marks the end of our displays.
Yep.
We're gonna go back this way, and I think it's fitting that we probably end with this because it's very special. You know, it's easy to take for granted the freedoms that we have. Because if you've always had them and never known otherwise, it's easy to not realize that there's a lot of people in the world today and through history who have not had that. And we have those freedoms definitely because people have been willing in the past and today to make the ultimate sacrifice if necessary with their own life so that we can have that. And man, I so appreciate our veterans. Not just on Remembrance Day, but throughout the year. And Bruce Browning at the Legion, Royal Canadian Legion, our local branch here, they are just excited to help us out. So this tree here is what we call our veterans tree. And we have it red and white in honor of Canada for our Canadian troops and our veterans who go over and above and beyond and in ways that we can't imagine. And so we are so grateful to them, not just for this, but for what they do that's of much greater importance. So thank you, Bruce. Thank you, Sarnia Legion. Thank you, veterans, for what you do for us.
Yeah, this one here, we thought, oh, we had to do something for the veterans. We haven't done it in the past, and it was just something I thought, well, let's give honor to our veterans.
Yep.
So yeah. Red and white, red and white, and red and white. Just one tree to them, for them.
Yep. Yep. Yeah, and they're very generous with us with their donation, and we really appreciate that. And well, I think we've covered all the displays, right, John?
Yep.
Have I missed any? Have you missed any?
Nope.
No.
I think we got them all.
I think we got them all. Well, that's about 48 displays, if I count correctly, which is pretty much all we have. We have a few left in our sea cans that we'll get up next year, and we are looking at possibly acquiring new ones. We also have local groups that are thinking about trying to put up some new displays. So if you're thinking you want to put up a display here, talk to us, and we can see if we can make that happen. We are looking for ways to grow this. There is still a bit of room here at Centennial Park to grow, but we might be looking possibly at a second site. I don't know about you, John, but I would love to see this display become one of the biggest in Canada. I think we can definitely do that. As far as we know, it's the longest running, largest, completely volunteer run Christmas display in Canada that we know of. Because most other communities that have anything that's on par with this or bigger, either the community does it, like the community municipality does it, or they pay a company to do it, whereas we're completely volunteer, right? Now, having said that, our local city is great. They are so helpful to us, not only waiving the fees and having workers out here. They are a tremendous help. But we do need to consistently get the message out. This is not done by the city. This is done by the community. We are part of the board, but we are really just community members like all of you, and it takes hundreds of people really to make this happen between all the sponsors and the volunteers, and we appreciate every one of them, and we can't do it without you. I do want to mention our other board members who didn't join in the video with us tonight. Some we've mentioned already. Paul Babcock Jr. Is on the board. We also have Matthew Mullen. He does our website, does a great job. We have Raylyn Burgess, who's also our treasurer and takes care of our books for us. And we have Jen Johnson. And so we're so thankful. And also Ace Concordia. Ace, most people know him not only as one of our jolly bus drivers who's recently retired, but he's also Sarnia Santa. And I mean that because he's the Santa in the Santa Claus parade, and he's awesome. But tonight he's busy being Santa in the community, and he's very busy with that at this time of year, as you can imagine. These are all great people who do this out of the goodness of their heart because they just love this community and want to give back. So we thank you for holding with us, taking kind of a journey through some of the history and seeing the displays. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you come down here in person with your family and really enjoy this. We love to do this. Watch the radio, watch our Facebook page, because we will need help January 13th, which is a Saturday, for teardown. It'll be a little colder, we know it's a little tougher sell, but we will give you some snacks that day, help out with that, and we would really appreciate your help. And finally, I want to thank Mr. David Burrows, who's behind the camera, for helping us out making this live stream happen, the filming of this. David is a great community man, and we appreciate him so much. So from the board, I want to say we appreciate you as a community, and a very Merry Christmas, right, John?
Yes, Merry Christmas to you all. Thank you.